Welcome back to the SAHMA Exchange, a podcast where policy, people, and property management meet. Some people spend years trying to figure out what career path they want to pursue. Melissa Martinez found hers right out of high school, and she's been making an impact in affordable housing ever since. Melissa is a training specialist with SPM, and in today's episode, she shares her journey from industry newcomer to trainer, the lessons she's learned along the way, and why affordable housing has become so much more than just a job. We also talk about one of her all-time favorite senior residents, the relationships that make this work meaningful, and what she wishes more people understood about affordable housing and the people who call our communities home. Let's get started.
So I landed in affordable housing because when I graduated high school, I didn't really have any prospects of what I wanted to do. Tried to go to college. College was like, so we're going to charge you out-of-state tuition. And I was like, bump that. I'm not going to college. Debt. And then I had a family friend, actually. She worked at SPM and she was like, hey, can't guarantee anything, but we do need a bilingual person to be a receptionist at one of these places. I'm like, I know Spanish and English. Thank you, Mom. But I know Spanish and English. I'm more than willing to go interview and stuff. So I interviewed, almost didn't get the job because there was somebody older that had a little bit more experience than me, but he had his mom calling the property. So the manager was like, nah, I can't deal with that. So then I guess I was the only other person. He liked that didn't work out. The manager was like, I don't want to deal with this. So then he called me up and I started working like pretty much right after high school. Started off at like 19 around. Yeah, it was like my second job ever was a receptionist. And then from there just kind of kept growing. And like, you don't even know that not going to college and getting into huge amounts of debt is an option until you start, working a career or working in a job. And this has really been a career. Like, I didn't think it was. Like, at first, everything is always like, I'm here until something happens, right? Or until I find that better thing. But it is that better thing. You just don't know it until you're in it. So
it's amazing to see how far Melissa's career has come, from answering phones as a receptionist to becoming a resource for managers across the company at SPM. Naturally, that got me curious about what her current role actually entails, so I asked her to walk us through what it's like being a training specialist.
Training, so I schedule just training for the system. So we use Yardi. So that's our primary system that we use. So I just show them like managers and assistant managers how to do move-ins, move-outs, like what's the necessary documentation that they need to get stuff submitted to our compliance department, how to even submit a file up to compliance. So basically any systems that we use, right, try to train the managers and the assistant managers on that. We also have, so that's always virtual, right? Then we also have in-person training. So SPM's done a really good job about trying to train all the new hires for retention purposes, right? Because the more you know, the more likely you are to stay. Typically, we try to do it so that every new hire gets that foundation. They meet all the directors. So we have HR director, accounting, we have FP&A, which is like financial planning and analysis, dealing with budgeting and stuff. So people that maybe never knew about how their property gets budgeted or never knew who that person was on that email that was sending them, hey, I need this and this and that. They actually get to meet those people in person at the corporate office. So it's really good in my opinion. Then, yeah, we just do a lot of trainings as much as we can to try to help people so that they don't have an excuse about saying, I was never trained on that. No. We got the training for it. If you ask, we can provide it. If you don't ask, you can search for it yourself. We give them every possible opportunity.
Listening to Melissa describe her role, it's easy to see that her days are full. Between training property managers on Yardi software and helping team members understand SPM's best practices, she's constantly investing in the success of others. But as she talked about her work, it was clear there was something deeper driving her than just the day-to-day responsibilities. So I asked Melissa where that passion for affordable housing comes from.
I think it's from when I started. Like we did not have a training department when I first started. It was a very, not trying to say it was a sink or swim, but if you didn't have a good manager that knew what they were doing, as an assistant or as a leasing agent, you were not gonna have like an easy way with things. If you had a good manager, they could show you the steps, right? I had great managers. So I felt like, okay, they taught me everything that they knew. So now that I'm a trainer, I can show everybody, hey, this is what I learned throughout my whole experience in this housing, right? So here, like, make it easier for you guys. I just want to make it easier for everybody because housing isn't for everyone. Like, that's for sure. You have to have a passion for it. You have to have compassion towards the residents. There's things that you have to be a good person in housing. But if you at least have all of the knowledge, you can decide whether it's something that you want to do or not, right? Because as long as you know what you're doing, then that's one thing, right? If you don't know and you get fired because you don't know, that's different, right? So that's kind of where I come from it.
Melissa's passion for affordable housing is obvious today, but that wasn't necessarily the plan when she first started as a receptionist right out of high school. So I asked her how long it took before she realized this wasn't just a job. It was the career she wanted to build.
It was going to the different, honestly, it was like going to the different conferences and stuff and learning like, oh my gosh, like there's more than just what's going on right at your little property, right? So I would say like maybe like 2 years in, because when you're a leasing agent, you're not doing much other than smiling and saying hi and here's an application, bring it back, right? So like those first couple years didn't really, like it's like, oh wow, I'm getting paid. This is nice. I'm getting like paid more than other people my age that are going to school right now that are not even working, right? So that was like in the beginning for me, it was about the paycheck. But then as you spend more time with your residents, because I dealt a lot with senior residents, like I was at senior properties for about 10 years out of my 14. So it was a lot of seniors. They're like, oh, you're just like my granddaughter. And not only like you start feeling like almost like they're your grandparents a little bit too when you're that young, right? Where it's like, I want to help you. Like I would want somebody, if my grandma was in this situation, to have someone that they can communicate with, can ask them for help if they need to and all that stuff. So that was what kind of always drove me in the beginning when I was like really, really young, was like, oh man, like this is basically like my grandma. Like what if my grandma didn't have a family to help support her and she had to be in affordable housing and Section 8 housing? I wouldn't want somebody to look at her and be like, oh, this lady couldn't take care of her finances growing up and this is where she is now. Like it was always so much of like, how can I help this person? Because if my grandma was here, how would I want her to be treated? That was always my big thing.
What I appreciated about Melissa's answer was her honesty. She admitted that when she first entered the industry, it was about having a job and earning a paycheck. But over time, something changed. The work became less about the position and more about the people, especially the senior residents whose lives she was impacting every single day. In fact, one resident in particular helped shape her love for this industry. So I asked Melissa to tell me about football, friendship, and a resident named Roger.
His name was Roger. He was an avid football fan. So we had a lot of conversations about football and stuff. And with Roger, I mean, he was just such a sweet guy. Like, I remember he would go and just like bring me at random. He brought me a Buccaneers like hat. It was like a foam hat, and he painted it by hand, the pewter and red colors, and put little flags, like little Bucks flags and stuff. He did that. He painted like it was like a little dog that kept like, and it had like a little thing, and he would be like, oh, this is for the score, like not the score, but like the wins and the losses, so you can change it every single week during the season. So he was just so sweet. Like he was just such a sweet resident, and was always like, here, like look at this little Bucks thing that I made for you, or here's this little thing that I worked hard. And it was just like so sweet that somebody would even take the time for some hobby that I like to watch football, right? I like to watch these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And because of a little hobby that I had, he would just go take the time out of his day to go paint something or work hard and try to be like, here, look at this, look at what I got for you, look at what I made for you. But like, obviously I was never like, oh yeah, look at how much was that, right? How much time did you spend on that? But it was always so sweet because the fact that he even took the time to think of me and do all that stuff, I can't even. He just enjoyed the conversations because like when you're a sports fan, there's always something that you can talk about, right? There's always like an extra thing that you can bring up. But he was just like, he didn't have family. He came from Pittsburgh, so he didn't have any family. He like didn't ever have anybody visiting him. So I think the conversations that we had were like impactful to him just because he had somebody to talk to, right? Like he talked with other residents, but he just enjoyed talking to me about it, and I enjoyed talking to him. And I felt like that was something that it was 7 years ago or something like that, the last time I even really was at the office with him when I was the manager there. I've gone back and I've seen him a couple times. It's a little sad now because you can tell that he's getting some dementia and stuff, but he still remembers me and he still brings up the bucks and stuff. So I really enjoy him.
As Melissa talked about Roger, one thing became clear. Sometimes the most important thing we provide isn't a building or an apartment, it's human connection. For Roger, that often meant having someone who would take the time to listen, share a conversation, and simply be present. That commitment to serving residents doesn't stop at the property level for Melissa. It's also one of the reasons she's invested her time and energy in the affordable housing industry as a whole. So I asked her about her involvement with SAHMA and what motivates her to stay engaged.
I've done a lot of moderating, right? So they've had me do a lot of moderating. I always volunteer because I'm all about trying to get the raffle tickets sold. They're like, we need this for the education fund. I'm like, I got you. If there's anything I can do, it's sell some tickets and sell some raffle tickets. So that's one thing that I really helped out a lot with. I mean, for the most part, that's mostly what I've been doing is a lot of volunteering. If they ever need me for anything, I always try to be there for them. They haven't had me do any trainings, but they did bring it up this time around. They're like, why aren't you doing any? And I'm like, you've never asked. I'm always somebody like, you let me know I'm there. These testimonial, you let me know I'm there, right? But you got to tell me because I'm more than willing to help out. I've been in everything like in between pracs, 202, Section 8, right? Now I'm dealing more with the tax credit program. So definitely have learned a ton from here. I love just going to the actual seminars to actually learn because there's so much changing constantly that the SAHMA meetings, it's how you find out about things. It's how you're finding out about HOTMA changes. It's how you're finding, she's like, HOTMA, I've heard that too much, right? But that's how you find out about all of the things that are coming down from like really high up that maybe doesn't get translated to everyone, right? Because when you're not that corporate employee, when you're not that person that's up there that's getting that pertinent information, you're not even hearing it. So it's part of that, oh wow, I learned this and I learned that here, and my little notebook's all full now because I've learned all this new stuff from coming to the seminars. That is like the one thing that I will say. The conferences will definitely help you learn what's going on now, like what the current changes are.
Melissa's passion for affordable housing doesn't end when the workday is over. Through her involvement with SAHMA, she's found another way to support the industry, connect with colleagues, and help move affordable housing forward. And that got me thinking about this public perception of affordable housing we talk about so often here. With so many misconceptions out there, I wanted to know, what does Melissa wish people understood about affordable housing and the residents we serve?
Luckily, throughout my career, I've always had really good properties for the most part. Again, with senior properties in particular, I just feel like most of them are pretty good, like in the sense of, they're kept up really well. And SPM in particular, they're not going to take over like a slumlord or like they're not going to be a slumlord or anything like that. But yeah, no, the stigma on affordable properties, we actually had that at one of the properties that I was at before we started developing it. It was literally in a neighborhood area, so very residential. And it was in between like a police department and houses. So the neighborhood did not want it. They did not want to let them develop it. They did not want to start it. They did petitions trying to prevent it from starting up and stuff. But Luckily, they didn't succeed because it is 80 something units of like senior housing that's affordable, like for Section 8. Like you can't, what is the alternative? Would you rather have your seniors homeless because they can't afford market rate apartments? Like, I don't understand where people's logic is sometimes with it. Like, I understand not everybody wants an affordable housing like next door, but that's just because they don't understand that affordable housing helps everyone. It would help your, grandma if she's on Social Security and doesn't have a family to take care of them, right? That's always my big thing is, what are we gonna do if we don't have affordable housing? Homelessness? And then you'll complain about the homelessness, right? That's one thing that I'm always like, come on, guys. Affordable housing is necessary. I'm not saying that like we do everything perfectly, because we don't. Nobody does, right? But we have to have the option so that people can go there, because at the end of the day, right now, Section 8 housing, in Florida, we have 3-year waiting lists that are closed. We can't even accept applications for some of our housing because that's the need that we have, right? And it's insane to me that people are like, we shouldn't build this here. Like, it's good. These properties are nice, right? They're not bad. It's not like there's anything intrinsically bad about an affordable housing. It's about who's taking care of it. It's about how they're taking care of it, right? Like, if someone's not taking care of a property, it doesn't matter if it's affordable, conventional, or whatever. It's gonna become bad, right? The people there aren't gonna love their place like that. And that's another thing, right? Like, your residents have to care about the property as well. And we can't control that, but we can always offer them like, hey, this is what you can do. These are some advocacy groups that can help you, because cleaning is always a big thing, especially with seniors. It gets harder and harder and harder the older that you get. So the good thing is, at least with SPM, we have a lot of service coordinators. So we have a service coordinator program for the Section 8 PRAX 202s, right? That allows them to go out and advocate and find services to help the residents too. So, I mean, it's not just, hey, here's this affordable property and we're just gonna lump poor people into it, because that's not what it is. It's, we have to provide housing for people that cannot afford these skyrocketing rents. And that doesn't mean that they're less than. That doesn't mean that they're not desirable tenants. That just means that they don't make X amount of dollars to be able to afford $2,400 worth of rent. So that's kind of where I come from, is it's not a bad thing. We just have to provide the housing.
As we wrap up today's conversation, I'm reminded that affordable housing is ultimately a people business. It's about the residents we serve, the communities we build, and the relationships that make this work so meaningful. Melissa's journey, from a receptionist fresh out of high school to a training specialist, SAHMA volunteer, and passionate advocate for affordable housing, is a great example of the impact one person can have when they invest in others. Whether it was sharing football conversations with Roger, helping property managers succeed, or championing affordable housing in her community, Melissa reminded us that the work we do matters. Melissa, thank you for joining us and for sharing your story. And thank you for listening to the SAHMA Exchange, a podcast where policy, people, and property management meet. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a colleague, and join us next time for another conversation shaping the future of affordable housing.